I think the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs.
If it was the dog pound.
No.
Right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the second episode this season of the Fourth Down Focus. Some of the more eagle-eyed amongst you, we've got a new face today, and he's unfortunately a Browns fan. But do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Max. I was on the draft episode, and I ate the Cleveland Browns.
Fair enough. And then we've got the two here last week as well. Both say hello.
Hello.
And James is a lot more prepared than me, so I'm going to pass it over to him, and he can tell us what we're doing today, because otherwise this is going to be very unorganised.
So we'll start off with game week 3. I mean, do you know what? For once, I'm going to start, and as much to Max's annoyance, but I am the only person with a win here this week. As my New York Giants beat the Cleveland Browns 21-15, I believe it was.
Did they? I don't think I've seen that.
First win of the season for us, I think. Malik Neighbours is going to... I'd be very shocked if this man isn't Rookie of the Year, pretty much locked down already. Unbelievable game. I think that catch has gone viral already, but the guy's a joke. He's unbelievable, and he's making Daniel Jones look like an elite tier quarterback in a couple of these games now. So I think we're sorted for a wide receiver of the future for a long time there. But overall, good performance. I think we had 7 sacks as well, which was a big one for us. Brian Burns sort of came alive throughout that one. Especially, even Kayvon Thibodeau looked much better than he has done. But I think, you got players like Dexter Lawrence in your team, you're never going to really struggle too badly on defense. And what our line looked like it could be, I think in that game it probably showed what it was. But I'm sure Max has got a different view of that game to me.
A little bit. My notes are depression. Malik Neighbours is real. Hate Deshaun. Hate the offense in general.
Sounds about right.
I've got nothing else to say. I don't want to talk about it.
If fair enough, we'll move on. We'll go probably to Kia next as the next probably biggest disappointment.
Oh, where do I start? Where do I start with the Las Vegas Raiders? If we just folded tomorrow, it'd make everyone's life a lot easier. Because we give ourselves such a big win the week before in Baltimore, and then we lose to Andy fucking Dalton. And there's been a lot come out from Antonio Pierce saying some players made business decisions. So I think we could see a lot of changes in Vegas this coming week, and I think we need to, unless it's Aiden O'Connell, because he is shit.
Yes, put him in against us, please.
That's my take on the game.
And then we'll go to Caden again. The only 0-3 team in here, and probably the biggest surprise 0-3 team so far this season.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on your loss to the Commanders?
Well, for anyone who watched the episode last week, I did say that on paper we should beat the Commanders, and everyone also thought we should beat the Commanders. But I said the way that the things are going for the Bengals at the moment, it was always a fairly decent chance we weren't going to win, and it's happened again.
A big defeat. 0-3, I don't think anyone really saw that one come in. Obviously, if you look at the other 0-3 teams, you've got the Titans and the Jags. I think that's probably more realistic to what we thought we would have seen before the season started. But, you haven't exactly had you had the Chiefs, but the Patriots and the Commanders is probably 2 unforgiving losses. Do you reckon there'll be some change coming soon?
The Panthers.
Yeah.
The Panthers have more wins than the Bengals.
Yeah, that is also a fair point.
I think... I don't know what's going on. We're scoring. It's the defense that's the problem. Burrow had a really good game last night. Not enough people are talking about it. He got 3 touchdowns. And we just couldn't stop the Commanders coming and scoring every time. It's just like watching headless chickens trying to tackle people. I think Zach Taylor needs to have a long, hard look at what he's doing with the Bengals and maybe make some big changes, make a statement.
Fair enough. If we move on from, 3 depressed individuals and me being happy for once, one big upset I'd probably say is the Vikings 34-7 over the Texans. Another great game from Sam Darnold. And I think, Kian, you mentioned that you don't see it continuing, but it's another game and another great performance from Darnold.
I just can't see how Sam Darnold is going to continue at this level, because he is still Sam Darnold. Like, let's not get
He's
too
in a
carried
good
away.
system.
It's just I can't see it. They don't get me wrong. They've looked really good as well, but I don't see them making the playoffs. I'm probably gonna look very fucking stupid, but I just don't see them making the playoffs right now.
I mean, if someone raised a good point, actually. Sam Darnold is younger than Joe Burrow, just to put that one out there. Just
Yeah, but he's also a bit shit.
well,
How many wins has he got?
One of them's 0-3, so that's all I'm going to say about that one. I mean, obviously, we've just spoken about Kian, your game, but Andy Dalton came in and fair play, did the job. Obviously, you're going to have, what was it, a 13, 14-year vet. He's going to understand an offense better than a 2-year rookie. But, I mean, you obviously watched the whole game. Was he as good as his stats made him out to be?
Absolutely. He controlled it from start to finish. Everything he did, he just looked so comfortable doing. He made our defense, which just looked all right first 2 games, look awful. And to be honest with you, just a quick one on the Panthers, I think the best thing they can do, and it's a big statement, is to trade Bryce Young. Because what I'm saying is they give up a lot to get him. If Andy Dalton keeps this up, they're going to think, oh, maybe Bryce Young wasn't the problem. Let's throw him back in. And then Bryce Young shit again. His drafts, all his stock is gone. Get rid of him now. Get rid of him now before he loses all credibility as an NFL quarterback.
I'll take him.
I think a few teams would probably take him at this point.
Oh, yeah. We'll have him off you.
I think one game for me that stood out was the Rams 9 as a huge comeback at the end from the Rams. And I don't think another one no one really saw coming. Anyone got any thoughts on that game?
Juwan Jennings looked really good. Really, really good. And I don't know why they paid Brandon Ayuk that much money, because he's ghosting. He's absolutely ghosting.
Yeah, I mean, Jennings is actually, obviously there's a lot of them on there, but he's tied for first with receiving touchdowns this season, now on 3. Obviously, there's like 7 or 8 receivers with 3 at the minute. But he looks like a man reborn, really, compared to the last couple of seasons where he's not really been at that level. But, I mean, it was just a huge capitulation from the 49ers. I mean, Caden, do you watch the game? What do you think about it?
Well, we were watching Red Zone, and at the start of the game, it's like, all right, the Niners are playing well again. They'll just steadily go towards the playoffs now. And then they just crumbled at the end, and no one really saw it coming, I don't think.
No, I mean, Kian, you can probably agree. I don't know that many people saw, especially not. We go into the third quarter when they were, 21-14 up by the end of it. I mean, 21-7 up as well early in the third. I mean, big surprise for the Rams.
It's just I couldn't really believe it when I seen it, because especially that Niners team as well. I know they've obviously lost a couple of players to injury, but I was really shocked when I must admit I didn't watch the game, but when I saw the score come through, I was like, what's happened there? And hopefully the Rams can kick on, because I do like the Rams as a team and just as a franchise in general, really.
And then I think probably the last game to highlight is the Bills-Jags. Obviously last night, Monday Night Football. Josh Allen looked absolutely electric throughout the whole game. A massive game for him. Was on course for the touchdown record at one point, I think. 47-10 in the end. What do we think of a potential shout that he's probably the leader for the MVP at the minute?
Agreed.
Easily.
Put your money on it.
I think it's his to lose, really, I think, isn't it? With Mahomes maybe not having obviously it's Mahomes, they are still 3-0. I'm not going to say too much. They probably will still win the Super Bowl. But not having the best season he's had in his career, I think if Josh Allen just keeps his turnovers down compared to last season, would you all agree he's probably his to lose at this point?
Agreed, 100%.
He looked so good last night. Just watching it, everything he did just worked. Honestly, I've not seen a quarterback performance that dominant in a while, if I'm being honest.
He stopped throwing interceptions, and he's stopped having Stephon Diggs complaining on him on the sideline. So now he's just a beast. He's an absolute beast.
He does still look like he strokes bees, though.
When he gets in that sort of mood, though, he's genuinely impossible to stop, because he is quite easily top 3 quarterback in the NFL now. And when he's in the mood to just make some of the plays he's been making. He got 4 passing touchdowns, and like you said, James, he's on course for the record at one point. It's quite difficult to name a better quarterback other than Mahomes.
I think for me as well, there's not much help in that receiver room for him at all. Obviously, Diggs is Diggs, and there's the issues there, but he's just still a great receiver. And you think you take him out of there, and everyone thought they're going to struggle this year. No real top tier receiver, so say, but so far they look much better without Diggs than they did with him, and that could probably say a lot about maybe his character by the fact that they're absolutely fine without him when many thought they wouldn't be.
I think
Khalil
Khalil Shakir. Yeah, we were just going to say the same. I think he's underrated as fuck, mate. He's brilliant.
No, I agree with you. After that's literally what I was going to say. So fair play. Well done, Max.
So we'll move on to a bit of rookie watch for this week. And again, I'm going to start this one off, as I said already, but Malik Neighbours, I think Max, you could probably accredit as well. The guy is unbelievable. And in this offense, this offense is really hard to thrive. We've seen so many times over the last couple of years, we've just been terrible. And I think, we still haven't got a quarterback realistically. Daniel Jones, he can have a good game like he did against the Browns, but then he can go back to being absolutely useless a week later. But I think with Neighbours is sort of that. I don't want to categorize Daniel Jones in this bracket, but it's giving me the vibes of Eli Manning and OBJ in that retrospect of the connection between two, maybe not the best quarterback in the world, but with an elite tier receiver makes him look even better than he actually is. I mean, I said, Max, you watched the game, but I think Neighbours, it could be that OBJ replacement we've been looking for.
I think he definitely is within a shout of Offensive Rookie of the Year easily. I don't know who's coming close at the minute because none of the quarterbacks are playing that well. I mean, Jaden Daniels was top last night, but I think he's definitely on track to win the thing. Yeah.
Kieran, would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree as well. To make Daniel Jones look like a good quarterback is some doing. So he's got to be in the running, definitely. And I mean, I did drop him from my fantasy after week 1, and then it come back to bite me on the weekend as he beat me. But so fuck that guy. But anyway, yeah, to make Daniel Jones look good is some feat. So fair play. And yeah, I think he is probably top of the running at the minute.
Caden, same thing from you.
Yeah, it just solely based on the fact that no one else is coming close. There's no one that's playing to a top level. Like, he looks like he could have been a top receiver for years now. Like, some of the catches he was making were ridiculous. No one's going to come close, I don't think, especially not for the next few weeks.
I mean, we'll stick with you, Caden, but I think the only Jaden Daniels, as Max just said, fair play, came alive in that game. That touchdown at the end as well, absolutely incredible. I think I said it last week, and when we lost to the Commanders, you can see he's got the ability. But I think you probably agree, truly did come alive in that game against you yesterday.
Yeah, as much as it pains me, he did actually look really on it. He looked a lot better than some of the other rookie quarterbacks. And I think out of the 3, he's probably going to finish highest in the running for Rookie of the Year. But it's only time will tell.
Kian?
Yeah, I mean, the stats don't lie. He had the highest completion percentage of any rookie quarterback ever yesterday. 91%. He went for 21 of 23 passes, which is just unheard of in this league. And he's so good with his legs as well. Yeah, for me, he looks really good and much better than Caleb Williams. So,
Max, would you agree?
What, Jaden Daniels? I think he's the best out of the top 3 taken. I'm just looking at the 2024 draft class, the Battle Run rookies. Maserati Marv's not been too bad. His first game was slow, and then he scored 2 in his second game. I think he scored on Sunday as well against the Lions. So I think he could be within a shout. He's got, obviously, there's a lot of season left to go, but I'm backing him, OSU.
I mean, yeah, I think if you look at the top 5, obviously, Caleb, we've seen pretty underwhelming and yet again, not great this week. You look at Jaden Daniels, he's definitely the best quarterback in this class so far, by quite clear margin. I don't think anyone even comes near him at the minute. Drake May saw 20 minutes of the field for the Patriots, and that's it. And, when you sat behind Jacoby Brissett, it probably says a lot about your current ability. And then you've got obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbours, who both look like great additions to both their teams. It's going to be top tier receivers for many years to come. But so for me, obviously, I think Neighbours is outright at the minute. But anyone else got a different opinion, or would you probably agree at the minute Neighbours leading the race?
I'd agree.
I'd agree with you. But we've not mentioned him yet, and I thought he played really well on the weekend. Bo Nix.
Yeah,
He did.
I'm not a massive fan of him, obviously, for the obvious Broncos reasons. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant on the weekend. And if he can keep that up, then he might be in with the shout as well. But I don't think he'll keep it up.
I mean, again, I said it last week, but I was really impressed with him already before the game. Yeah, this weekend, and he's come out again and he showed up again. I think that play with his legs, it just shows the athletic ability he has got. And I think many people, obviously, I think when it came out as like a unanimous decision during the draft that it was a huge reach from Denver, which it might still prove to be. But at the end of the day, if they get a quarterback who's winning them games, then maybe it's not as bad of a reach as people think. I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on that one.
I think people underestimate how hard drafting is in the NFL. You can say that someone's a reach, but you don't know how good they're going to be, realistically. I mean, I watched a video the other day where someone redrafted every draft from 2000 and one first overall pick remained the same based on ability. It's so hard to do. So teams are going to reach and there are going to be busts. But if the player's playing well on the field, then, it's worth it.
I think it's hard to tell, isn't it? Obviously, players can be so good in college, but it's the ability to translate the ability from college to the NFL, I think, is a huge step for most players. And a lot of players will struggle. I mean, there's been some unbelievable prospects come out of college in recent years. I mean, even Bryce Young, if you look at it, was an unbelievable prospect on paper. And
what happened?
The Panthers
went wrong.
Panthers happened. But you think, unanimous first pick, and I don't think anyone would have not taken him had they had that first pick needing a quarterback. They would not have taken CJ Stroud. But Stroud's turned out to be an elite tier quarterback. And Bryce Young's on the bench. And, it's just how it goes. It's just hard to translate that ability, I guess. But as you said, Bo Nix, he looked like a reach, but so far you could argue he's been the second best quarterback in this class.
No, I'd have to agree with you.
I'm still interested to see what Michael Penix can do. Obviously, they're playing Kirk Cousins at the minute because they give him a big contract. But if they drafted him that high, you'd think we'll see him at some point this season.
They must value his potential to use a first-round pick
exactly.
and pay Kirk Cousins that much money to still take him at, was it pick 7 or 8?
8.
That one does feel like a reach, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think it's more the fact they don't need a quarterback rather than he's not the best prospect. Like, he would have gone 2-3 picks later either way, realistically. There's plenty of teams below probably would have taken him over. I mean, even Denver probably would have taken him over Bo Nix had he been on the board. I think probably Yuki would have ended up with Nix if he'd stayed on the board.
So thank God they did take him.
Yeah, you got Brock Bowers. He's been good too.
He has been good, actually. Yeah, he has been good.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, was it a tough game for, obviously, a loss to the Panthers? Not be anyone showing out great, but he's looked good so far, I think. But obviously, you watch them every week, so you'll know better than me.
You can't really blame it on Brock Bowers. He rarely got targeted at all, as opposed to the 9 I think he got the week before. Their defense really did play well, and our offensive line was shocking. So on another day against another team, I imagine he probably does better, but it's not really a true reflection on how he started. He's been really good, so I'm not going to knock him. There's been a lot worse players in that game last weekend than Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you lose to the Panthers, I think it's going to go more to the defensive side of things than the offensive side of things. Giving up, how many points is it in the end? 36?
I want to say it was 36, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a concern sign to say the least. Anyone else got any rookies they think have been particularly impressive? Maybe not necessarily from your team, but just in general across the league, or we haven't already mentioned?
Dallas Turner for the Vikings. Because obviously everyone's talking about Sam Darnold, but the defense has been good as well. And Dallas Turner, rookie's been thrown straight in, and he looks solid to me. I think he was also the third defensive player taken off the board. So yeah, I think that was a good pick. Definitely not reach of any sorts.
I mean, we saw with defensive players, it took a while for a lot of them to go. I mean, I can't remember
Yeah,
what pick the first
15,
defensive
the first
player
one.
was. But
15.
it was pretty 15. So it's, that's a long way down. But obviously, we saw so many quarterbacks go because especially if you look at next year, probably not the best quarterback class we've seen. It looks pretty nailed on that not many of them quarterbacks are going to be fantastic prospects. I mean, there's problems with all of them, and I'm sure we'll get into that at a later date. But it's interesting to see how maybe players went a lot later in the round, and teams who picked offensively are struggling on defense. You might think maybe they should have picked elsewhere.
The Falcons. They should have taken a defensive player. I thought they were going to take one first, and they took Michael Penix for whatever reason. So if they're shit, it's their fault. That's what I'm saying.
I'd love to know the reason as to why they didn't go to a defensive player. My only reason I can think of is they were worried. They really wanted Penix, and they were pretty adamant they knew he wouldn't get to the second round.
I mean, it might just be a thing of he's going to sit behind Cousins for a year or two, because obviously Cousins is getting on a bit, and then he'll be ready to go straight away. But I just still don't think it makes any sense. I don't get it.
No, I mean, anyone else sort of agree with that one? Because I definitely agree in that sense.
Yeah, I think he's definitely doing the old Jordan Love, where you sit behind the starter for a couple of years. I mean, it's worked for the Packers, so you never know. In 2 years, you might all sit here thinking, "You know, what a draft that was." But nah, I do think that they should have taken a defensive player because they look a bit short-handed on that side of the field.
It was hilarious when they picked him. I remember we were all watching it and we were just really confused.
I was baffled, man.
I think I was live tweeting for the Twitter account, and I had prepared a tweet for, I can't remember what defensive player it was, and I had to redo it all and scrap it when I saw they were taking Penix, because I was in absolute shock, scrambling to find a picture of Penix, because I as I said, I don't think anyone saw it come. I don't even think Falcons fans even would have thought they would have even considered taking a quarterback at 6. But I mean, that's just how it goes, I guess. I mean, as you said, Jordan Love worked. It could work, but it's definitely a long-term plan because he's not going to be playing anytime soon, I'd imagine, with how much money they paid Cousins.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like what Kean said, just the Jordan Love thing.
I think we're going to see more teams doing that now as well because of the success that the Packers have had. Well, obviously not like silverware or anything, but just how good they look, rather than just chucking in him straight away. So I think you'll see more teams doing it. It's not exciting at all, though. I don't want to draft for 2 years' time. So
speaking of the Packers, they've had Jordan Love out for the past 2 games. Who thought Malik Willis would look as good as he has? Because he looks fucking well good the other day.
His numbers have been impressive.
Yeah,
they have.
Again, it's another one where everyone sort of think Jordan Love's out. That's them done for the season, depending on how long he's out for. But another player who no one really thought would see the field this season, and same as Sam Darnold, really stepped up and is showing maybe he's got a future as a starting quarterback in this league. And I think a lot of teams
that might be a stretch. That might be a stretch.
I think a lot of teams have a big decision next year because there's quite a lot of quarterbacks who have been career backups who, for some reason, are all just turning up this season. And
Joe Flacco last year.
Yeah, Joe Flacco last year.
I miss him so much.
It's interesting to see, isn't it? What is the reason why these, they could have been in the league for a long time, and for finally now they're breaking out. Again, you could say they've been sat for so long that maybe they've learned so much from better quarterbacks that they're ready to go.
I kind of think a lot of it's to do with the determination as well.
Yeah.
When you've been sat as a backup for so long, you're going to try that 10% harder because you want to be a starting quarterback. No one grows up wanting to be a backup.
Yeah.
So they'll be trying 10 times harder than just your usual starters, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if we focus more on, I was thinking more on some teams. First of all, the struggling teams who probably didn't expect. I'll start with Dallas because I think that's a big one. One of the highest rated defensive teams coming out of last year has a terrible defense this year. I think that's the only way to put it, really. They have been really, really poor to begin this season. It makes you think, doesn't it? Anyone got any theories as to why the Cowboys have been so poor so far?
Dak Prescott's got his money and he's give up. Apart
I
from when
blame
they play
Jerry
those,
Jones.
of course. You
I
blame
just can't
Jerry
help but blame
Jones.
him. Yeah, I can't help but blame him. He just looks creepy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
I mean, as you said, Dak not exactly been doing anything much of notice this year, and he's 31 now. His chances of getting the ring he's probably, well, as every quarterback would ever want in their career, probably slipping away week by week. This year looks pretty much like a write-off now.
You've got to think that the Cowboys expect him to get it on this contract that they've just given him. Because if he doesn't, I doubt he'll get another one like that.
No,
Highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
You know, if you're paying him, if he's the highest paid player in his position, in theory, he should be the best in his position, but quite clearly nowhere near it. Never was, and
Yeah, but you could
definitely
say that about
never.
Deshaun Watson, couldn't you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, CD Lamb as well. That was a huge contract, and he's looked good, but at the same time, when you're that probably high up in their depth chart compared to all your other receivers, you've got to be that important guy who makes the plays, gets touchdowns, and he's just not really been at the level I think he should be at. You know, he's one of the best receivers in this league when he's on it, but I think, so you might disagree, but I think he's been pretty poor this year.
I quite enjoy watching Jerry Jeudy and CD Lamb both fail, because we took a convicted criminal ahead of them in the draft, who is now in jail for 10 years. So seeing them two do bad just makes me feel a tiny bit better about the pick of Henry Ruggs. But you know,
Jerry Jeudy's probably our best player on offense at this point, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you never know. You never know what might happen. It could. Deshaun might, injure him.
We'll sign Joe Flacco back, and he'll start throwing dimes to him.
He's not coming back.
I wish.
Let it go. Let it go.
Never.
I think, well, we'll go back to Caden. Obviously, you're the Bengals, the big outlier this season with the team that, with Burrow back, everyone thought would be pushing up towards the playoffs again this year. But what do you think's going wrong so far? Is there like a specific area, or is it just in general disaster?
I think just for defense in entirety, for just letting everything get through them. It's like we weren't great last year on defense, and we thought that we'd have some work done so we can get back into the playoffs this year. But nothing has changed. It's just the same as last year. We're not good enough on defense, no matter how good we are on offense, which we are actually really good with this season. We're just letting too many points go against us.
Kim, would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I would, to be fair. They're a strange team, the Bengals, if we're being honest, because that offense looks so good on paper. But like you say, that defense is terrible. And I mean, who do they think going to beat the Bengals? Well, every fucker at the minute. They're 0-3. So
Can't reuse the joke.
No, I went for all 3 who days last week, so I can. But yeah, I do agree.
Max, same question to you.
I am so happy that the Bengals are bad. It makes me so much happier. To be fair, though, I'll be nice. All their games have been close games. Like last night was 5 points. They got beat by 1 point when they played the Chiefs, and then getting beat by the pitch by only 6 points. So they could put a few wins on. I think they'll finish 8-9, 9-8, somewhere like that.
10-7.
Right. 10-7. We'll move on to the important things that is going to embarrass us in a week's time. Our predictions for game week 4. Now, if we look back to last week, it's probably best we leave it, as I know for a fact myself, I only got 7 out of 16 games correct. So I think we'll just ignore everything we said last week, especially the claims of all 3 of us saying the Browns will beat the Giants and all 3 of us saying the Raiders will beat the Panthers.
And Commanders and the Bengals.
To name it. And the Commanders and the Bengals. So let's just say we're not very good at predicting our own teams. The first time I've gone against the Giants in the entire predictions this season, and we actually won. So
Stop reminding me, please.
So, speaking of, I'll start this one out. Thursday night football, Giants versus the Cowboys. Now, it's not a fixture we tend to win. I can't remember the last time we did.
You've lost the last 11 I saw earlier.
There we are.
Every game Dak Prescott has played against you, he's beat you.
Yeah, not a game I'm too keen on normally, but for once, after last week, how we played and after how they've been playing recently, I can't say I'm entirely unhopeful that we could actually win. I think the loser of this game, their season's over. I think it could be dramatic to say that with the Cowboys, but if they're losing to us, I don't see who they actually beat because, yeah, let's be honest, we're not great. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to go extremely optimistic, and I'm going to 100% be wrong, but I'm going to say that we beat the Cowboys for the first time in 11 games or whatever it is. We'll go to Max next. I can imagine everyone will disagree with me there, but
that is some prediction, that, James. No, I'm gonna have to go with the Cowboys. It just seems wrong that they've only won 2, and like normally they just coast through the season and then go shit when the playoffs start. But they've started a bit slowly, so I don't know. I just think they need a win badly, so they'll probably play for it.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to go Cowboys as well. I don't know how they're called America's team because no one fucking likes them. But yeah, I think they'll probably win. They need a win. And as much as you did have a good game on the weekend, you have still got Daniel Jones as your quarterback. So yeah, Cowboys for me.
Caden?
Yeah, weirdly, I'm going to agree with you, James. I think, yeah, you've lost the last 11, but records are there to be broken. And Danny Dimes is going to sort you out.
Well, at least I'm not alone on that one, so I'm not going to be the only one embarrassed in a week's time when we get like 40-0'd. We'll move on. Next up, we've got the Falcons versus the Saints. Max, do you want to start that one off?
Well, the Saints have been in good form, obviously. Got beat by the Eagles just about, but I don't know. The Falcons don't look bad. Obviously, they got that win over the Eagles. They weren't far off beating the Chiefs. And no one's pointed this out about the Chiefs, by the way. And we'll come back to it. But the Chiefs have only been narrowly winning these games. And one of them's going to come back to bite them, and they're going to lose. But for this game, anyway, I'm going to actually pick the Falcons. I think the Saints have slowed down a bit now.
I really want to pick the Saints because I'm quite enjoying watching Derek Carr do what Derek Carr's doing. But nah, I think the Falcons, they've not looked bad at all. And they looked pretty decent on Monday, but the refs obviously shafted them with that DPI call, as they always do in Chiefs games. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think that they're going to have too much for Derek Carr's Saints.
Caden?
Yeah, I think Kian's spot on. I think the Falcons, they need to end this Saints like run because it's going on a bit too far now.
I'm going to make it a clean sweep for the Falcons, I think, so we know how that one's going to end in a week's time. But I think
Alvin Kamara 4 touchdowns again.
Yeah. I don't see Derek Carr's form continue for very long. I think you can see they slowed down a bit against the Eagles, albeit it's a very good team. But I think the Falcons have looked better than their record suggests. And as you said with the Chiefs game, it was really close. So I think I'm going to go with the Falcons on that one and make it a sweep out for the Falcons win. We'll move on to the Jets versus the Broncos. Kian, do you want to start that one off with your best mate, Bo Nix?
Oh, Christ. Aaron Rodgers is the conspiracy theorist wizard, is going to score many points, and the Jets are going to beat the Broncos because they are still the Broncos. And Bo Nix, as good as he did look on Sunday, is not going to look as good next Sunday. See, I'm going to go for the Jets. I think that they've looked pretty good, barring the first game. So I can see them winning this one as well and starting to put a bit of a run together. And I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but the Jets might be a playoff team.
Caden?
Yeah, well, I said last week that the Jets would just get a routine win, and I was spot on. I think they'll do the same again. I think they are good enough to keep winning these sort of games and maybe push for the playoffs, but it's going to be a case of whether they can keep Aaron Rodgers playing at a good level.
Max?
It's a tough one. The Broncos looked good against a good team. Obviously, Baker Mayfield's Buccaneers. I miss Baker Mayfield very much. Let's not talk about that. But I think the Jets are still very good, and I actually had them finishing above the Bills in the AFC East, which was a bit stupid. But they just look very good on paper, and I don't think the Broncos are that good. They just got a good win. So Jets for me as well.
Yeah, again, another clean sweep from us, but I'm going to go with the Jets. I mean, I think we did underrate the Broncos a bit last week, and they proved us all wrong. Quite a clear win, but I think the Jets just look great. They're comfortable winning against the Patriots, and I'd be very shocked if this wasn't another comfortable win for them. As you said, I think they are definitely a playoff team, at least the way they're playing. I think with Aaron Rodgers now fully fit, I can't see it going any other way. But yeah, we'll go with that. Next up, we have the Houston Texans versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Max, do you want to start that one off?
The Jags are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. Trevor Lawrence is awful. Mac Jones is awful. And the Texans will want to bounce back from last week's L. So I think the Texans should absolutely batter them. CJ Stroud, big up.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm going to go Texans as well, because I just didn't think the Jags looked good at all last night, and they've not looked good at all season. Trevor Lawrence is being paid far too much money for what he does. Yeah, Texans for me, and I really like CJ Stroud as well. So,
Caden?
Yeah, I think big win for the Texans after that appalling game the other day. I think CJ Stroud's going to probably throw quite a lot of touchdowns against them.
Yeah, I'm going to make it yet another 4-0 sweep of our predictions. So these could all end up going horribly wrong or absolutely brilliantly. But I think the Jags have been terrible. I'd argue they're the worst team in the NFL at the minute by quite a distance. They've just not done anything on offense or defense. Not convinced. They said Trevor Lawrence overpaid. And I think with CJ Stroud, I don't see how the Texans don't win this game, to be honest. We'll go next to the Packers versus the Vikings. Quite an interesting one, this one. Anyone want to start this one off?
I'll start us off. The Vikings have looked really good with Sam Darnold, but as I've already said, I think that might come to an end. And that Packers defense has been so good to start the season off. I mean, there's some of the takeaways, the amount of sacks they've got, they've been unreal. And I just think that might be the start of Sam Darnold's downfall, that defense on the weekend. And if Malik Willis can keep up how he's been playing, which again is a big ask, it's like shit v shit on the quarterback compartment. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Packers because I just think that if the quarterbacks play to their shittest ability, then the Packers defense will carry them over the line. So Packers for me.
Caden?
Yeah, I think the Packers will take it as well. I know I'm still missing Jordan Love, but they still look good enough, I think.
Max?
Not much else in it.
I'm not having a clean sweep this time. I think the Vikings, I had them to slow down last week against the Texans, as most people probably did. And I think they had a few players on IR last week as well, and they still won. And I think they're good enough to beat the Packers. Obviously, Packers will still have Malik Willis, I think, next week. And I just think the Vikings look too good. I can't see them slowing down yet.
I'm glad you said it because I'm going to agree with you as well. I made the mistake of writing them off last week, and they wiped the floor with arguably one of the best teams in this league. So, as much as he's Sam Darnold, and I do worry when this run may come to an end, I think the Packers have been good on defense, but I'm not convinced so far with offensively necessarily. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to be 4-0, which is probably an incredibly mental statement had we had said that. And week one, that Sam Darnold's Vikings would be 4-0. We'll let Caden start this one off. We've got the Panthers versus the Bengals.
Yeah, Panthers are going to get a second win, I think. No, I do think this is the first win we get of the season. I think it's coming together on the offense. We need to keep it together in the defense and just hope that we don't have another all-timer game from Dalton.
Kian?
Where is it?
It is...
I think it's in Carolina.
Bank of America, so yeah, Carolina.
With it being at Carolina, it's Andy Dalton's first home opener of the season. He was so good on the road last week, and that whole team was so good on the road last week.
You've scared him off.
I scared him off. And Andy Dalton's going to scare them defenders as well. It's going to be the Panthers. And I just think they look like a completely different team. He's just fallen off his chair in disgust at me. But they just look a completely different. They look revitalized. And there was a video from the locker room after they beat us. And they all look such a tight-knit group. So Panthers are going to beat the Bengals, and the Bengals are going to fall to 0-4 on the season.
Max?
Well,
Say
obviously
Panthers so he runs off again.
the Bengals are 0-3. Let's just laugh at that for a second. Anyway, no, I think the Panthers are going to win. Andy Dalton comes back to Cincinnati. Well, he's not going back to Cincinnati. He's playing against his former team, Cincinnati. They looked good against the Raiders, who aren't a terrible team. I mean, they're not great. They're not terrible. Oh dear. Oh, no. Yeah, the Panthers. The Panthers are going to win by 20 points as well.
I didn't expect it to be as chaotic as it has been, but I'll restore some order to probably save Caden's brain cells for the rest of the podcast. I refuse to believe the Carolina Panthers go 2-2 after opening 4 matches. As you said, they look good, but the Bengals cannot go 0-4. I refuse to believe a team with Joe Burrow and now T. Higgins, with that quarterback to 2 elite receivers, they can't do enough on offense to limit their terrible defense and beat this Panthers side. So I'm going to save Caden's brain for the next hour, and I'm going to say the Bengals win that one and go to 1-3. We'll move on from the chaos, but we'll level it out a bit more. Buccaneers versus the Eagles. Max, do you want to start that one off?
This is going to be a good game. Could be game of the week, or at least game of the 6 p.m. game block. But as much as I want to back Baker, he didn't look very good against a bad Broncos side. And the Eagles do look like a well-oiled machine. Saquon Barkley's a great addition, so I think the Eagles win that one.
Ken?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, Saquon's always been good in this league until he gets injured. So, I just think, Eagles for me, and Saquon Big Calves is going to have as many touchdowns as he's ever had. And I just think they're going to win because Baker Mayfield is back to being Baker Mayfield.
Caden?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. Baker Mayfield, he's coming towards the end of his good start of the season, as everyone thought he'd get. But as Max said, I think the Eagles getting Saquon such a big thing for them, and he's been really good this year. So I think he's going to get him over the line.
I refuse to give Saquon any praise, and I won't for the rest of the season. I'm not doing it. He's useless, and I hope they lose every match. But I think voice of reason, I unfortunately have to pick the Eagles as well. I said Baker, he had a good start, but he looked pretty terrible in the last game, and I still don't rate Jalen Hurts at all as a quarterback. But when you've got Saquon, I suppose you've got the ground game to carry a terrible quarterback through to another win. So I reckon they'll move to 3-1, but they're one of the teams I think I wouldn't be surprised if they have a much poorer season than a lot of people probably expect from them. Again, not a gender field at all. We'll move on to I'll start this one off, the Bears and the Rams. I think it's another game where Caleb probably he's running out of time to really show, I think in his opening sort of 5 matches, what he can do. He's been poor every game. I don't think he's shown anything particularly impressive in any of his games so far. Even the win, I don't think it was exactly because he was amazing. I think it was just an accumulation of a lot of reasons. But so the Rams coming back from that huge deficit to the 49ers, I think this should be a fairly easy win for the Rams, even with their injury crisis everywhere. If you can take down a team as good as the 49ers, playing against someone like Caleb Williams in that offense, I think they'll win this one. Max?
2 1-2 teams, obviously, they're going to both want the win, especially the Bears, just because I think they were very hyped. And obviously, Caleb Williams, he's not been that good. I think he threw his first pass for 20+ yards last week in his 3rd game. So that's, only just better than Deshaun Watson. But I think the Rams, even though they have got the injuries, like you said, James, I think they should win, especially after beating such a well-oiled machine like the 49ers.
Kian?
Yeah, Rams for me. They have looked okay, even when they were getting beat, in my opinion. And then on the weekend, they've really sort of stepped up, like you say, with the injury crisis to come back. And I can't see them losing that game, to be honest. And Caleb Williams, that agenda is staying until the rest of the season. He is not as good as a first overall pick. He's still not as bad as Jamarcus Russell, but he's getting there.
Caden?
I'm taking the Bears. I think this is Caleb's time to step up, and I think he'll have a good game, and he'll continue to have some good games for the rest of the season. That is just my prediction, and I'm sure Kean won't like that, but I think it's actually going to happen.
Optimistic, yeah.
But not too unrealistic.
Unrealistic.
No.
I think we can't really give any voice of reason on any Bears predictions for the rest of the season because I'd be surprised if Kean picks them to win any match in this whole season. So, as far as Kean goes, they're going 1 for 16 or whatever it is. Kane, you want to start this one off? We got the Colts versus the Steelers.
The Steelers cannot go 4-0. Like, I don't care what it's taking for the Steelers to lose a game, but it's got to happen, and I'm going to back the Colts on this one.
Kean?
I'm going the complete opposite. Steelers going 4-0. Richardson looked really, really bad on the weekend. That pick he threw, I assume we all know which one I'm on about, was horrendous. I don't know what he saw. Well, I do know what he saw. He saw a defensive player running away with the ball, but it's not what he meant to do. I just can't help but think the Steelers now have too much for them. The Colts are okay, but the Steelers are just a better side, and they're doing everything well at the minute. So, yeah, Steelers 4-0, but they're not good enough to win anything in the long term.
I despise the Pittsburgh Steelers, as you can tell by my background on this particular video. They cannot go 4-0, like Caden said. I don't think Anthony Richardson's terrible. I think he's the funniest quarterback to watch in the entire league just because you don't know what he's going to do. Worse than the interception was that pass that he threw to the guy on the sideline. I don't know what he was looking for there, but I still think the Colts win. I don't think they're a bad team at all, and I'm not backing the Steelers. Sorry, it's not happening.
It's a difficult one for me because I do actually rate Anthony Richardson. I think he had a poor game, and that Colts team I think is a lot better than people think it is. I just don't think they're showing it so far. And I think it's a case of the Colts are underperforming and the Steelers are massively overperforming, and one of them's going to stop soon. I think I'll go with the Colts. As I said, I just don't believe the Steelers can go 4-0 with Justin Fields at quarterback. I don't see it. I think, as I said, the Colts have a good team. I think it's finally time they start showing up this season. So I think they'll get the win there. What's what key in this time? The 49ers play the Patriots.
Oh my God, that's like asking me which lung I'd rather have the cancer in. I despise both of them teams, like to a really high level. I'm going to go Niners because the Patriots really aren't very good. They're just not. So, yeah, short and sweet, 49ers.
Caden?
Yeah, same as Kean. It's got to be the 49ers. They can't keep being this bad.
Max?
I don't think it's that straightforward. Obviously, they beat the Bengals. They only lost to the Seahawks by 3 points, which is a good result, to be fair. I mean, it's not what you want, but it's not a good result. You know what I mean? And then, obviously, the Jets did them over, but I still think the 49ers should win. They will win, but the Patriots aren't terrible. Gerard Mayo's not a bad coach, I don't think.
I am going to go with the 49ers, but I do think there's a few players in that. I think one rookie I'm going to bring up now because I forgot to talk about it. Gonzalez for the Patriots, he's been excellent. Obviously, he had that huge injury last year. He's come in this year, and I think he's been one of the best corners in the league, realistically. But as you said, the Patriots they just don't look great. I think everyone thought after week one, thinking what's going on here. The Jacoby Brissett team's actually won a game, but then we see how terrible the Bengals have been. I don't think it was that impressive in the end. But I think that the Niners need a win. You know, this is a team that should and probably will be in the playoffs, and they need to start showing they're capable, because otherwise we're going to have the most random playoffs of all time with how some of these teams are playing. This one, for me, I mean, I'll start this one off. It's a unanimous decision for me. Cardinals versus the Commanders. Commanders 2 wins, but it's against 2 poor sides, including my Giants. I said they scored 7 field goals, got shut out completely by our defense, which isn't exactly a promising sign. But I think I really like the look of the Cardinals. I think Kyler looks great. Marvin Harrison looks like probably the best pick they could have made by Malik Neighbors, who's the better player. But I really do like the Cardinals, and I think they should win this one rather easily. Max?
I think I'm gonna have to agree with you, but I think it'll be a close one. This actually could be a really good game. Obviously, Kyler Murray versus Jaden Daniels, two quarterbacks who like to move out of the pocket a lot. But I think the Cardinals have more weapons. I think they might sneak one.
Kian?
Yeah, Cardinals for me. I know you just said about they like to move around a lot. Kyler has to move out the pocket or he can't actually see downfield because of how big all the D
He is
linemen are.
4'6". He is 4'6".
But despite him being vertically challenged, he is a good quarterback. So I think that they'll beat them. But yeah, like you say, I think it'll be a good game. And I do really like Jaden Daniels. So I'm excited to watch him again.
Caden?
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray, it's been touched on, he's a very little man, but he's a great quarterback, and I think Maserati Marv is the one for him, and they're going to continue to be good for the rest of the season, I think.
It's another 4-0 sweep for the Cardinals. So again, we'll know how that one ends up being. I'll let Kian kick this one off, but both of you actually involved in this one, the Raiders versus the Browns. I'll start with Kian, and then I'll move on to the next.
The first fourth down focused derby of the season is here. Right, I've got a few things I want to say about this one.
Second fourth down focused derby.
Yeah, but was it?
We played the Browns last week.
Oh, shit, yeah. But he weren't here.
Yeah, fair enough.
True, fair enough.
If we're going off morals alone, then we've already beat them. But in terms of actual play on the field, then I don't know. I mean, look, we're going to be going for a big comeback after the shit from last week. It's at home, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So the home opener was a shambles. So they're going to want to perform in front of them. Antonio Pierce's business decisions, I'm quite interested to see what they are. Having said all that, we're going to lose. The Browns are going to beat us. I can't see any other result. Gardner Minshew mania is over, officially over, and I fear that Aiden O'Connell might be in that team by week 7. And we're just going to start tanking, I hope, because there's no point for us to play this season anymore because we're so bad. We've got the worst running back room in the league, and we're going to get bad. So, yeah.
Max?
I think the most exciting thing about this entire game is that it's the last game the Browns have without Nick Chubb. That's the only positive I can pull from it. I'm going to go against Keane and say that they're going to beat us, to be honest. I think Deshaun Watson is up there with the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, well, down there. And the O-line looks terrible. We just can't get anything going. So unless we absolutely destroy Gardner Minshew on defense, I think we're absolutely fucked. And the Raiders are going to beat us by at least 17 points.
I hope you're correct.
Caden?
See, it's quite a difficult one, and I will like to go against the Browns, but I think it's quite an evenly matched game, to be honest. I think the Browns would take it if it was at the dog pound, but it's not going to be enough
Never do that again.
That's on TikTok in about 2 hours.
I'm not looking forward to listening to Matt bark at the TV.
Yeah, timestamp that one. We'll get that one on the TikTok.
That's atrocious.
To move on from Caden.
What's his? I don't even know his prediction.
Who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, I think the Raiders, just because the Browns are in our division and it's Max's team.
I've just seen the timestamp.
It's nice to see that there's a load of positivity with every team we support in here, as both of them have gone against their own teams. Obviously, I saw the Browns last week. Not great, but I think the Raiders haven't been good either. And I think with how much better the Browns defense is than the Raiders defense, I think the Browns will win it just having Myles Garrett alone. I think already makes them a better team than the Raiders.
He might be injured.
Yeah, no, I did think he did limp off, didn't he?
If he's injured, then it's Raiders by 50.
Yeah, so if he is injured, I might change that one to the Raiders. But if he's fit, I'm going to go with the Browns to win that one.
Max Crosby also potentially has an injury. This could be the worst NFL game of all time.
Oh,
if they're both out, then it's probably unwatchable if they're both out. This one could be interesting. The Chargers versus the Chiefs. Max, do you want to start that one?
The Chiefs will win because the refs love them and they cheat every week, but they'll only win by like 3 points, and then everyone will still act like they're the best team in the NFL. And I hate the Chiefs.
Fair enough. Kian?
Once again, a game where I hate both involved. But yeah, like Max says, the Zebras are going to bring it in for the Chiefs once again with some dodgy calls, as happens every single week. At first, I thought maybe it was just a bit of a coincidence, but me and Aaron Rodgers both agree that there is a conspiracy to be spoken about here. So yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs based on the refereeing standards of Chiefs games this season and last season and the season before that.
Caden?
Yeah, I think, as predicted, everyone's going to go for a Chiefs win on this one because they're going to have the refs on their side, which I've seen firsthand this season and lost as a win. But I think instead of, as Max said, they're winning by a few points, I think they'll have a big game. I think they'll win by at least 21. I think they'll absolutely batter them.
You know what? I'm going to go off field here, and this will definitely be by the end of the week. But I have not been convinced. I get the rest, I get it, but I've not been convinced by the Chiefs at all this season. And the Chargers, I think, have been much better than what they look. I think Joe Alt is going to be one of the best players to come out of this draft class. He's already proven that. He's been excellent on that O-line. And I think the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs and end the Chiefs, well, stop the Chiefs going 4-0. I'm not convinced, and I think it's got to end eventually. They won't go 17-0, even as much as the refs will call every penalty in the book to help them. I think the Chargers will beat the Chiefs, and I'll go against the grain for that one.
Someone clip that, please.
Yeah, that'll end up in TikTok again by the end of the week, but I'll accept it. Kane, I'll let you start this one off. We've got the Ravens against the Bills.
I think this is a good game. I think it's quite an evenly matched game. But if Josh Allen can keep playing the way he is, then I can't see the Bills losing another game for a long time. So I'll go to the Bills.
Kim?
Yeah, the B-stroker is going to win the MVP. He's just been so good. He was so good last night as well, and he just has been so good throughout the entire season so far. So yeah, MVP candidate, and the Bills are going to win again. They just look like an unbelievable team at the minute.
Max?
Stop calling him a B-stroker, please. I can't do it. This is like the best player in the NFL. Anyway, I'm going to go against the grain. Ravens win. 1-2 is surprising for them. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. Obviously, the Bills look incredible, but I think the run ends against the Ravens. But this is what I think of when I think of a primetime game. Two massive AFC teams going against each other. I'm excited for it.
It's a difficult one for me because obviously the Bills have been excellent. Josh Allen looks unbelievable this season, but I refuse to believe the Ravens go 1-3 to begin the season. I think they're criminally underperforming what they should be. Lamar's still MVP, reigning MVP. I think, you've got to be careful when you predict these games. I'm going to agree with Max. I'm going to go with the Ravens to end the Bills start of the season. I think as much as Josh Allen's good, he can't necessarily do it all against these top teams. Obviously, against teams like the Jags, you can sort of just rely on your quarterback and he can carry you through the whole game. But I think I'm going to go with a Ravens win at home to sort of kickstart their season after a really poor start. Moving into the last two games of the week, I believe these are our primetime games on Monday night. We've got, first of all, Kian, do you want to start off the Dolphins against the Titans?
Brilliant primetime games. Yeah. Skyler against Will Levis. Wow. The Dolphins just look like an absolute shadow of themselves without Tua. We said last week that we thought maybe they could still kick on with how good that receiving group is. But unless they make some serious phone calls this week to NFL quarterbacks without a job, ring Cam Newton, then they've just got no hope because he's not an NFL quarterback, the lad who they've got in at the minute. And I mean, Will Levis, we'll get a good picture of him, but I think that they'll probably win. I think the Titans will win because I just think the Dolphins currently look like they should be playing the XFL, not the NFL.
Caden?
I think the Dolphins will win. I know they were really bad the other day, but I can imagine that's mainly just down to it's the first game they've played in a long time without Tua. And I think, as Keenan said before, that receiving room is just so good that it should be able to get them over the line against the Titans, no matter who's the quarterback. But after their poor performance the other day, it's just going to be a case of whether whoever's going to be filling in for Tua can step up.
Max?
The Dolphins are terrible. I agree with Kian. I don't even think the Dolphins were that good last year. I think they were overhyped. They didn't beat any good teams really. They were beating terrible teams and getting stat pads. I think this is the Titans' first win, and the picture of Will Levis this week is going to be him celebrating.
For me, this could be one of the worst primetime games we see all season. These are two terrible teams at the minute. I just don't see Will Levis taking down an offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I know I said it last week. I didn't see him losing with them two, regardless of who's at quarterback. And Skylar is terrible. But
Skylar was that bad. He got dropped for Tim Boyle.
yeah, he's not great, but at the same time, Will Levis is also not good. So I think a Dolphins you have to rely heavily on Skylar just throwing every pass to Tyreek. Although I think someone picked up on that. I saw it earlier today that Tyreek and Waddle were basically not targeted in crucial situations during the game. On like third downs, it was barely ever thrown to them too. It was also
I don't think Skylar Thompson was capable of throwing the ball to them, to be honest. So
I think questions asked of Mike McDaniel by the end of this week, even without Tua, I don't think he's a great coach, but I'm gonna say the Dolphins do win this one and somehow keep their season relatively intact with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. Finally, I'll let Caden start us off to round it off. We've got the Lions against the Seahawks. Could be an interesting one, this.
Yeah, it is quite an interesting game. I mean, the Seahawks looked weirdly good the other day. And I don't think a lot of people expected it. I know it was a weird game going into it, but I think I fancy them again, to be honest.
Kian?
I'm sorry, someone was setting fireworks off, so I didn't hear the game.
The Lions versus
Seahawks.
I'm going to go Lions. I just think it's another team where the receiving group is really good. And I just think that they just have too much for them, personally. I just think they're very good. They're a very good team. They could have been in the Super Bowl last year. Obviously got very close. And I think they're going to be sniffing around there again. So, yeah, Lions.
Max?
The Seahawks have actually been really impressive. They're 3-0, which I did not predict going into the season, but I just think the Lions are that good. Did you see that hook and ladder play the other day? I showed Caden it earlier, where he threw it to St. Brown and he popped it back at the Gibbs. That was wild. But yeah, I think the Lions are too good. They've got too many weapons.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think the Lions win. Seahawks, though, they have been a lot better than I anticipated, especially with Geno Smith quarterback. But fair play, they're doing what they need to do to get the wins. But I feel like the Lions are going to be Super Bowl contenders by the end of the season. I think they already are, but I think this is the win that could be a statement win from them to sort of show up in this one and prove why everyone thinks they're as good as they were before the season started. So that rounds off our predictions for the week. Now I'm going to end it with 2 questions for you all. We get some quick-ish answers. Who is your, very early to call it, who is your favourite at the minute for both MVP and Offensive Rookie of the Year? So I'll start with Max.
Josh Allen and Neighbours probably. Maserati Marv might be within a shout, maybe even Jaden Daniels, but I think it's probably Neighbours and Josh Allen for me.
Kian?
Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels, because Danny Dimes isn't going to keep throwing these balls for Neighbours to catch. So yeah, Jaden Daniels, and I think it's easy. Josh Allen.
Caden?
Yeah, I'm going to go Josh Allen as well for the MVP. But for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think probably Jaden Daniels, purely because he's a quarterback and they always seem to get pushed further up.
I'm going to be really biased, and I'm obviously going to say Malik Neighbours for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's incredible, and I don't see who else is going to get thrown the ball more than 3 times a game when he's in the team. I think Josh Allen is the unanimous decision from all of us, but MVP is his to lose at this point, I think, with how well he's been playing and how poor maybe the other top-tier quarterbacks were not as good as we expected they have been. So I'm going to go Josh Allen for MVP, and I'm going to go Malik Neighbours for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So that is all from us this week. So next week we'll review our predictions again. Probably going to be terrible as they were last week. We'll talk about some more issues, and no doubt something will go wrong for someone. And I'm sure we'll have the result of the fourth down focus derby by the end of the week. So we'll see how that one goes for whoever is doing that. But before we finish, actually, Kian wanted to throw in a little segment as we are fourth down focus. He wanted to throw in his favourite fourth down of the week. So I'll let you do that one, mate, before we go.
So my favourite fourth down was in a crucial part of our game against the Panthers when we tried our very own tush push. I think it's the only tush push to ever go backwards. It was really impressively shit. So yeah, that's my favourite fourth down. Has anyone else got one?
I've got a least favourite one. I was watching Dan Orlovsky break it down earlier. 4th and 1, and Deshaun had a man wide open to his right, and instead he got sacked. Obviously he did, because he's Deshaun Watson, and our offensive line is terrible, and I hate the Browns, and I'm going to pick a new team.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring one up because we don't convert fourth downs ever. We did stop a few though, so that was something. That was a new one, as you just said. We actually managed to stop a fourth down, which is the first time I've seen that in about 3 years. So that was impressive. Okay, have you got anything to throw in there?
Well, the only thing I can think of, I can't remember if it was a fourth down or not, but it was that clear
Invalid.
pass interference that we had that never got flagged up.
I don't think that was on
game.
fourth.
No,
I don't think that was on
I
fourth.
think it might have been on third, but if it was fourth, I'm having that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some fun fourth downs to throw in next week. No doubt someone's going to do something absolutely terrible. But for now, we will leave it there. So, thank you to Caden, Kian, and Max for joining me this week. So yeah, so next week we'll look at our predictions. We'll go through whatever happens, of course, over the course of the next few days, and we will see you all next week.
Goodbye.
See ya.